But now someone with a sharp set of eyes has noticed perhaps a mistruth in the Oprah interview. Here it is.
She has a blanket that sits across her knees for warmth, and it was chilly. And she was like, Meghan, come on, and put it over my knees as well.
Was the move about getting away from the UK press, because the press is, is everywhere, or was the move because you weren't getting enough support from the firm?
It was both.
The 19th of May, 2018 is locked into global memory as a picture-perfect fairy tale kind of day. A bright, sun-soaked afternoon at Windsor Castle, cameras flashing from every angle as the world watched in awe. A modern American actress stepping straight into the spotlight of the oldest royal family on the planet. This was not just history, it was spectacle. What looked like the wedding of the century, built on polished headlines and glowing coverage, is now being re-examined through insider reports, sharp investigative work from names like Tom Bower, and one very loud silence from Hollywood's biggest players. And now, those glossy images are starting to crack, revealing something way more complicated underneath. Oprah Winfrey, known everywhere as the queen of exclusive interviews, the woman who can read people like a script, quietly admits she made the biggest mistake of her entire TV career. After that headline-making interview, she went completely quiet when it came to Meghan Markle. No red carpet mentions, no subtle shout-outs in interviews, not even casual name drops where people usually speak freely. That silence wasn't random, it stood out. Some are now saying that just showing up at that wedding may have marked the start of a slow shift in Oprah's media power. Because this wasn't just a royal ceremony, it felt more like a high-stakes media play that shook the monarchy and stirred long-term consequences for one of television's biggest icons. And behind the scenes, things were already tense long before the first carriage rolled out. Reports now suggest there was a quiet but serious struggle over the guest list, with insiders claiming Queen Elizabeth II herself was unsettled by the choices, or the noticeable gaps, in who was invited. Royal weddings are supposed to reflect history, loyalty, and deep-rooted connections. Back in 2011, Prince William and Catherine Middleton's ceremony was packed with figures representing the very core of Britain's establishment. But this time, the vibe felt different and people noticed fast. Local postmen, small-town shopkeepers, and childhood friends who had known Kate since she was a toddler filled the seats back in 2011. It felt real, grounded, and built on genuine connection. That wedding wasn't just royal tradition, it was personal history on full display. Now compare that to Meghan Markle's proposed guest list, which one court insider reportedly described as looking more like a red carpet casting call than a family celebration. The difference? It was impossible to ignore. Reports claim the Queen sent that list back multiple times, quietly questioning one major thing: the absence of Meghan's own family. Aside from her mother, Doria Ragland, her blood relatives were nowhere to be seen. In their place, a lineup packed with major American celebrities and power figures. The Queen, known for reading between the lines, is said to have noticed the calculated feel behind it all. And when names like George and Amal Clooney, Oprah Winfrey and Idris Elba showed up, the reaction from royal insiders wasn't subtle. Their eyebrows didn't just lift, they stayed raised. People started asking real questions. Why were individuals with no clear, documented connection to the couple sitting in prime spots inside St. George's Chapel? Those seats are usually reserved for the tightest inner circle, not industry elites with distant ties. According to investigative author Tom Bower, backed by claims highlighted in Airmail, these celebrities weren't there as close friends, they were something else entirely. The narrative gets even sharper from there. Meghan was reportedly building something strategic, a powerful media shield made up of Hollywood's loudest and most influential voices, a lineup designed to shape perception and defend her story once she returned to the US. And one of the most telling moments? It allegedly happened right there during the ceremony. Carolyn Bartholomew, a former roommate of Princess Diana and a guest at the wedding, is said to have turned toward George and Amal Clooney as they sat inside that historic chapel, setting the stage for a moment people still talk about. When asked the simple question, how they even knew the bride or groom, the Hollywood power couple didn't spin a cute story or name drop a fancy dinner in London. Instead, they gave a blunt answer that caught people off guard. They said they didn't know them at all. That moment hit different. Still, George and Amal Clooney were treated like top-tier VIPs, front and center. The same energy extended to Idris Elba, and most notably, Oprah Winfrey. To many inside the monarchy, this didn't feel normal. It felt like something else entirely. Some saw it as an unexpected shift, where a deeply traditional state occasion started to look more like a high-level networking event.
It was Meghan's very first outing with the Queen. It happened right after her wedding to Prince Harry, and it was obviously extremely important and a significant occasion because it was her first outing with the monarch.
While Catherine's wedding came across as warm and deeply connected to the British public, this one felt more calculated, more controlled, and way more strategic. For a long time, Oprah Winfrey stood as one of the loudest supporters of this whole new chapter. In Oh, the Oprah magazine, she described walking into Windsor Castle as overwhelming in the best way, even recalling how she let out a loud whoa when she took in the scale of the history around her. At that point, she framed everything as a powerful moment for love and a shift in culture. She even shared a light, relatable moment about a last-minute fashion switch, changing her dress because it looked too close to white, a move seen as a respectful nod to the bride. But behind all that public praise, there's another layer people are now talking about. Sources connected to the Harpo production circle suggest Oprah may have been observing more than she revealed at the time. While she openly admired Meghan's presence, she was also quietly taking in the unmatched scale and prestige of the royal institution itself. That level of legacy, that kind of global weight, it's something few can mirror. And over time, it's believed Oprah came to recognize that Meghan stepping into that world was one thing, but fully matching its depth and history was something else entirely. Oprah's interest in the royal family didn't come out of nowhere. It was built on a deep respect for the institution itself. She had already seen what that tradition looked like at its best during William and Catherine's wedding. The details stood out: the hand-woven carpets, the delicate lily-of-the-valley arrangements, and the presence of everyday people who had been part of Catherine's life for years. It all felt authentic, rooted, and meaningful. Now, compare that to what insiders were saying about Meghan's wedding behind the scenes. Some described it as rushed, uneven, even a bit performative. And that contrast didn't go unnoticed. At first, it was just a quiet seed of doubt, something small that lingered in the background. But over time, that feeling started to grow into something much bigger. While the public thought a calm and polished bride on camera, reports suggest the atmosphere behind the scenes at Windsor was far more tense. Staff were allegedly dealing with difficult moments that didn't match the fairy tale image being broadcast worldwide. And some of the claims about the preparations raised serious eyebrows. One of the most talked about moments involved a reported request to spray the 500-year-old St. George's Chapel with atomizers to remove a musty scent. Palace officials refused immediately, pointing to the importance of preserving such a historic space and treating it with respect. For them, this wasn't just a venue, it was heritage. Then there was an alleged incident during a food tasting where Meghan believed she could taste egg in a vegan dish and strongly challenged a staff member over it. According to reports, this situation escalated enough that the Queen herself stepped in, saying clearly, "Meghan, in this family, we do not speak to people like that." To the royal household, moments like these weren't brushed off as simple pre-wedding stress. They were seen as something more serious. These signs pointed to someone who wanted control, not connection. People weren't seeing teamwork, they were seeing someone trying to run the whole show instead of blending in. To many, it looked like the spotlight mattered more than the responsibility that came with it. The image of the crown seemed more exciting than the weight it carried, and that raised serious eyebrows. The biggest twist in all of this is Oprah Winfrey quietly stepping back. For years, Oprah built her name on honesty and truth. When she sat down with Meghan in 2021, she believed she was giving a voice to someone overlooked. But things started to unravel fast. Claims like the secret wedding 3 days earlier didn't hold up, especially when the Archbishop of Canterbury came forward and shut it down publicly. That's when it hit. Oprah had been pulled into a story that didn't fully add up. That powerful media support Meghan gathered back in 2018 is now slipping away piece by piece. George Clooney, who once showed up to the wedding without even knowing the bride, is now being seen having real warm moments with King Charles III at Prince's Trust events. That shift isn't random, it sends a loud message. Hollywood elites are choosing authenticity over something that feels staged.
Do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point, but I've got to do something for my own mental health, for my wife's, and for Archie's as well, because I could see where this...
Then there's the talk around big events, like whispers of an Oscar-winning actress asking to switch seats just to avoid Meghan. That kind of move says more than any headline ever could. And while the public admired the beauty of Windsor glowing in the sunlight, something much more intense was happening behind those thick palace walls. Inside those private rooms, tension wasn't just present, it was strategic, quiet, and very real. The second chapter of this deep dive pulls back the curtain on the precise and at times intense demands made by Meghan Markle before the 2018 wedding. These weren't small requests either. They shook palace staff and sparked tension that cut straight through the core of the monarchy. Insider accounts and detailed reports from royal biographers paints a picture of how Meghan wants, Meghan gets started taking shape early, and it didn't come without consequences. That mindset didn't stay behind palace doors. It set the tone for what came next. The moment known as Tiaragate became a major flashpoint, with insiders saying it revealed how the royal collection was viewed, less as history, more as personal style. Choosing the wedding tiara wasn't smooth at all. Meghan reportedly wanted a bold emerald piece, but Queen Elizabeth II said no, not out of preference, but because of sensitive historical concerns tied to the jewels. For a global event, that kind of risk wasn't an option. Behind closed doors, tensions rose fast. Prince Harry's reaction was described as intense, and during that moment, he reportedly said, "What Meghan wants, Meghan gets," a line that stuck and sparked lasting debate. The Queen, however, stayed firm and direct. She made it clear the decision stood, ultimately selecting the Queen Mary Diamond Bandeau. Even with that resolution, the moment left a mark, hinting at deeper differences that wouldn't fade easily. But if there's one moment from the wedding buildup that people still argue about, it's the reported clash between Meghan Markle and Catherine, then the Duchess of Cambridge. For a long time, the story stayed buried under layers of he said, she said confusion. But as more details surfaced, the disagreement came down to something surprisingly specific: the flower girl dresses. Now, this might sound small, but in royal settings, details matter a lot. Tradition at Windsor weddings is clear. Young bridesmaids wear tights. It's not just about appearance, it's about formality and making sure the children stay comfortable during a long and highly public ceremony. Meghan, however, reportedly pushed for a more modern, Hollywood-inspired look that had the children go without tights. That difference in vision didn't just stay a quiet disagreement. It became another flashpoint in an already tense lead-up to the big day. This wasn't just about fashion. It hit straight at royal etiquette that Catherine was trying to protect. Reports from insiders claim that during a tense fitting, Catherine's dress didn't fit right, and without tights, the children ended up with painful blisters. Emotions ran high, and the situation reportedly left Catherine in tears. While Meghan later said in her 2021 interview that things happened the other way around, people present at the fitting have stuck to a different version. They described Catherine as the one visibly upset, pointing to what they saw as a firm and unyielding tone from Meghan. To them, this wasn't only about dresses. It reflected a deeper clash over respect for experience and long-standing boundaries within the royal family. That moment didn't just fade away, it shifted relationships in a big way. Prince William reportedly saw the situation as a serious break in family trust, and from there, the idea of a united Fab Four quickly fell apart. Behind the scenes, the contrast in wedding approaches became impossible to ignore, with Catherine known for working closely with palace traditions, while Meghan's style was seen by some staff as more like running a production set. Reports claimed Meghan became intensely focused on camera angles and lighting, treating palace staff more like a film crew than royal aides. That approach didn't sit well with those who saw the monarchy as rooted in duty and service, not performance. At the time, Oprah Winfrey, who later spoke with excitement about the wedding, was said to be unaware of the tension building behind the scenes. From the outside, everything looked polished and modern, but insiders described a very different atmosphere. They pointed to stress among staff and disagreements over details, including food choices and planning decisions.
And she told a story later in her Oprah Winfrey interview in 2021 where she talked about the moment that the Queen was more like a grandma to her because she saw that Meghan may have been cold and put a blanket over her legs as well. And it was it's a small detail and it's a smallish story, but it had significance because it showed the relationship that Meghan had with the Queen. It gave some insight into that.
Later, claims from the 2021 interview, like the idea of a private ceremony before the official wedding, made people revisit 2018 with fresh doubt. As the big day approached, the guest list already had critics talking, with celebrities filling seats while some longtime connections were missing. At first, the attention and media buzz were huge. It worked. But over time, that support seemed tied to one thing: perceived authenticity. Once questions started building, especially around the narrative, that strong Hollywood backing began to fade fast. Moments like Tiaragate and reported tensions weren't brushed off anymore. Instead, they were seen as part of a bigger pattern. While the world saw a perfect celebration, some guests later admitted it felt more staged than personal. Even Oprah's presence came together quickly, with reports saying the connection was formed just weeks before, adding to the sense that every detail had a deeper purpose. It looked personal on the surface, but to some observers, it felt carefully timed. The same questions followed the arrival of George and Amal Clooney. Guests nearby, including longtime royal connections, quietly noticed how out of place they seemed. When asked how they knew the couple, reports claimed the answer was simple: they didn't. That moment sparked whispers across the chapel and raised eyebrows instantly. To critics, this wasn't about close relationships. It was about influence. Being seen next to names like Oprah and the Clooneys sent a strong message of status and global reach. It created an image that went beyond royalty and stepped into celebrity power. The difference compared to William and Catherine's wedding stood out sharply. That event felt rooted in history and community, while this one, to some, leaned more toward spectacle. Even as Oprah later described the moment as powerful and emotional, others focused on details that didn't quite line up, especially when later claims about a private ceremony before the official wedding brought fresh scrutiny to the entire story. When the Archbishop of Canterbury publicly confirmed that the only legal wedding was the Windsor ceremony, it didn't just raise questions about Meghan, it also put pressure on Oprah's credibility. Some guests started to realize their presence meant more than just celebrating a wedding. It hinted at something bigger: visibility, influence, and a carefully shaped narrative that not everyone noticed right away. While the world admired the carriage procession, the reception told a different story. Insiders described it as polite but distant, with a noticeable lack of warmth. High-profile names like Oprah were placed among longtime royal figures, creating a quiet but clear divide. There was respect, especially for global figures, but also tension beneath the surface. The emotional impact of the ceremony began to clash with a guest list that to some felt short on real connection. Behind the scenes, small details didn't fully match the polished image. Some even described the event as running in production mode. While past royal celebrations were known for genuine warmth, with major celebrities front and center, the tone shifted, raising more questions as time went on. Those sharp public interviews created a gap that no amount of celebrity presence could fully cover. By the time the private reception at Frogmore House began, talk had already shifted. Guests weren't just mingling, they were quietly questioning the carefully built image around them. Some of the biggest names started to realize this wasn't just a wedding, it felt like stepping into a larger brand story. And as time moved on, that strategy began to backfire. The same high-profile figures once seen as strong support slowly started to distance themselves, leaving behind a noticeable shift in tone. By 2021, the highly anticipated Oprah interview was meant to lock everything into place, a defining moment of truth and influence. Instead, in the years that followed, reactions became more mixed. What began as a powerful narrative started facing deeper scrutiny, with certain claims, especially the one about a private ceremony before the official wedding, drawing the most attention and raising ongoing questions. When the Archbishop of Canterbury publicly confirmed that the only legal wedding was the Windsor ceremony, it didn't just raise questions about Meghan, it also put pressure on Oprah.
I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry especially, because I know how much loss he's suffered. But I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it. And I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
If that's potentially not how it played out, it sort of changes how we view their relationship at that time, which is important.
Known for her sharp instincts and ability to read people, Oprah was said to feel caught off guard after giving her global platform to a story that now seemed, in parts, carefully shaped. That moment triggered a noticeable shift in Hollywood circles. Celebrities who once appeared closely linked began to quietly step back. The Clooney's, for example, were once seen as strong allies, even offering personal support. But over time, their focus appeared to return to long-established ties and traditions instead. Subtle signals started to replace loud reactions. Instead of open criticism, there were fewer invitations, slower responses, and a clear cooling of connections. Reports of stars creating distance at events only added to the perception that something had changed. In Hollywood, that kind of quiet disengagement can speak louder than any headline. Even Gayle King, long seen as one of the strongest public supporters, was rumored to feel the pressure when reports surfaced that similar documentary ideas were being shared with multiple industry figures at once. For some, that raised concerns about trust and intention, creating a sense that key relationships were more strategic than personal. Questions didn't stop there. They also reached into the more relatable moments shown to the public. Scenes like the one with Archie, meant to feel simple and down to earth, were later viewed by some insiders as overly staged. That contrast between image and reality only added to the growing skepticism. For someone like Oprah, whose career is built on authenticity, the situation reportedly led to a noticeable shift. The excitement that once surrounded the connection gave way to distance, and that change echoed across Hollywood circles. In an industry where credibility matters, even small doubt can reshape relationships fast. What once looked like a powerful network of support has gradually cooled. As attention shifted and questions grew louder, the landscape changed, turning early momentum into a far more uncertain and distant reality. The media shield didn't just crack, it completely fell apart. What's left is a clear lesson about the gap between carefully built influence and real, lasting prestige. This final chapter isn't playing out in loud headlines, but in something quieter, the steady pullback of major media figures, with Oprah's subtle distance leading the way. Inside Hollywood, the tone has clearly shifted. What was once curiosity and excitement has turned into caution, especially as more questions started surfacing beyond royal circles. Some reports even claim the 2021 interview was approached with a strategic mindset, sparking concern in an industry where trust behind the scenes matters just as much as what's shown on camera. Now, that shift is hard to ignore. Many of the high-profile names once linked to that moment are no longer visibly connected. It's not about public criticism, it's about silence, absence, and distance. In Hollywood, that kind of quiet step back speaks volumes, showing how quickly perception can change when confidence starts to fade. There hasn't been any dramatic public statement, but the shift is clear through actions alone. The sense that a major platform may have been used to support something less than fully accurate has reportedly led to a complete stop in visible backing. What once looked like strong support has now turned into firm distance, marking a clear change in direction. For someone like Oprah, whose reputation is built on trust, even the appearance of inconsistency carries weight. As more claims have been publicly clarified or challenged over time, the situation has only added to that separation. It's not loud or confrontational, it's quiet but decisive. At the same time, comparisons have started to stand out more. Events like William and Catherine's 2011 wedding are now viewed differently, with greater appreciation for tradition and continuity. That contrast has only sharpened the conversation, highlighting how differently public perception can evolve over time. The final takeaway is simple. You can't build something lasting on surface-level connections. The attempt to lean on powerful names and high-profile circles didn't create a strong foundation, and over time, those ties faded. What's left now is the quiet reality of distance, where once there was constant attention and support. In industries built on trust, once that trust is shaken, everything changes fast. What started as a picture-perfect moment at Windsor has now slowly shifted into something far more uncertain. The spotlight dimmed, the noise faded, and many of those once closely linked have stepped back into their own worlds. Now, the story stands as a reminder. Image can open doors, but consistency keeps them open. And when the cameras stop rolling, what really matters is what remains behind the scenes. If you made it this far, drop a like, subscribe for more deep dives, share this with someone who needs to see it, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.